Hello everyone, this is Chief RBC. We're going to be talking today about working in UV light maps within Unity. And I'm just going to start off really quickly. We have here a basic scene set up inside of Maya, and in this basic scene, all we have is 4 cubes. And what I've done is, just for the sake of this demo, I've actually combined them all together as one. And I've created a UV map that was made using automatic mapping tools, and I just laid it out flat completely, and all we have here is just the representation of what's over here. If I go up to the very top up here in under UV sets, you'll notice that map 1 has been generated, or a UV set called map 1 for these objects. What I would like to do is I'd like to create a secondary channel, and the way I do that is with this selected in object mode, I come over inside my UV channel and I want to make sure that I copy into new UV set. Okay, once I open it up, you'll see that it says here UV set and map 1. If I click on map 1, my UV set is exactly the same as it is in the new UV set. Now, this isn't always going to be the case when you're working inside of Maya and Unity. The likelihood is that your map is going to be laid out with the way your textures are laid out, and you're going to create a secondary channel that's going to be as completely flat as we can get it. Now, typically these will be sewn together and stuff like that, but you can lay them all together as one giant model that you're going to export into here and then lay it all out as one UV set. Now, the reason we want these two UV sets, and I'm going to select UV set right here, and we're going to rename it just so that I can have something. We're going to call it Light Map Channel, and I'm going to hit apply. Now, if I open up my UV sets, I have map 1 and light map channel. By the way, Maya will not let you rename Maya or the map 1. That's its default channel. It will not let you rename that one. But you can rename all subsequent channels that you create. Now that we have this done, I'm going to export out this model into Unity. And I'm not going to show you guys that because you probably already know how to do it. So next time I come right back, we're going to be right into Unity. Okay, so now that I have my object imported into the scene and brought in, first thing we want to look at is we want to look at the inspector. In order for us to create a good light bake, the first thing we want to check is come into here inside of our project, open it up, and we want to check a couple of things. For example, make sure that the scale is working correctly, that all your mesh compression and everything's set the way you want. Now, if you're not really familiar with creating a secondary UV channel, which I've already created, we just showed you how to do that. But if it's something where, hey, I don't have enough time, I'm not able to do it, upon import, you see down here at the bottom of your model, it says generate light map UVs. Now, I'm not going to turn that on because I don't need that at this moment. So what it will do is it will create a secondary channel, but it'll break every piece out and stuff. And so sometimes not a good idea. Other times, when time is just an issue, you can quickly go ahead and generate your lightmap UVs right here inside of Unity. So that will create a secondary UV set for you. Now we have everything corrected in here. I want to make sure we come into our hierarchy, and right off the bat, the first thing that we want to make sure inside of our inspector is that we have static turned on. These objects are not going to move, hence we're creating a light bake for them, and we're going to burn the shadow so that it never moves. Now you can have mixed lighting in here and stuff where the lighting will touch the character but won't touch certain things, but right now we're just going to focus on the static lighting. If you look down here, you can cast shadows, contribute to global illumination, receive illumination. Right here we have light maps turned on. You can scale in the light map if you want to. I usually leave it at 1 and make sure that stitch seams is turned on. The light parameters, scene default parameters, just leave it that way. And if you're using any light probes and stuff like that, or reflection probes, it'll take those into account as well. So everything's set up on our mesh right now that we're ready to start doing it. However, we can't start the static light thing until we also make sure that our lighting is set the right way. Now, currently, see how we have up here how it says static? If you open that up, we don't want that turned on at the moment. We want to look through a couple of things. First of all, the directional type right here is a directional light. We have our color, and we're going to set it to mixed. Okay, typically the directional light will be set to mixed. Just for this demo, we're going to switch it to baked. Okay, we don't want anything other than baked light. Now, normally you would do baked lighting, is going to be your lights that are omni lights, or your overhead lights where you're trying to get a beautiful wall lighting or something of that nature. So we want to make sure that the light is set to baked, otherwise it won't bake. Okay, so in this case, if it's your directional light, you probably want that one set to real time so that it's calculating the light on your characters and stuff like that. For our lights that are being burned, we're going to use baked. Okay, you can increase the intensity of your light if you want to, indirect multiplying your lights and stuff like that, or you can even set your shadows here for hard shadows or soft. We're going to set to soft shadows, and we're going to slightly change the bake angle so that they kind of filter out just a little bit. We don't need to draw a halo on there, we don't need a flare, and the render mode right here, just set it to auto. Culling mask is set to everything currently. Oops, sorry, set it to everything. Okay. And I just want to leave it that way. I'm set to go. Now the next thing I want to do is make sure that I have my light the way I want it to be. I want some nice shadows coming falling down here. And now we need to go inside of our window. We want to come down to rendering right here and find our light settings. Okay, it's going to pull up our light settings. We're just going to drag that over into here so that we have it on the side. Okay, inside here, the default skybox is going to be used. Our directional light has already been applied to it. If you had a different lights and stuff like that that you wanted to pull in, you can pull those in and stuff like that. You can load a whole bunch of lights and bake. So we want to make sure that the source is a skybox. You can set a gradient or a color if you wanted to, but I'm going to stick with skybox for right now. The intensity multiplier, you can increase the amount of intensity inside your lights that you want to. You saw how it changed over here. And under your environment reflections, you can use a skybox, or you can put in a custom reflection if you want to. You can load those in very easily. And on our resolution, the resolution will mainly be for your imported type stuff. 128, 256, they're usually, roughly about the same. It's not too much that you need to add more to it. Compression, we're going to keep them at auto so that it compresses accordingly. And then you can change the intensity multiplier and the number of bounces of light. Now, one bounce of light is just going to land on your object. 2 bounces is going to land, and then it's going to spread the global illumination of the light. So we're going to set to 2 just for fun because I like it. I do want, we can turn off our real-time global illumination if you want to. We're going to do baked global illumination in this case. The lighting mode, how it says shadow masked, subtractive, or baked indirect lighting, I always keep it at shadow masked. Okay, it kind of gives you an idea here. Mixed lights provide a real-time direct lighting. Indirect lighting gets baked into light maps and light probes. Shadow masks and light probes occlusion get generated for baked shadows. So the shadow mask mode used at runtime can be set in the quality settings panel. Now this is just a little note, kind of give you an idea of how to optimize your scene. Most of what we're going to be working in is going to be right down here in the light map settings, and you're going to notice when you open your lighting panel, auto generate light mapping is going to be turned on. I always turn it off before I do anything else, so make sure that you do turn off auto generate before you're ready to start. Okay, in this one you have progressive CPU under light mapper. We're going to use Unity's default light mapper, or their light mapper tool, which is called Enlighten, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Okay, and you'll notice that it kind of changed a few of the things that we're working with down here. You always want to be working using Enlighten for your light maps, just because it makes it much nicer and does a better job at really calculating out those shadows. Our indirect resolution, this is how many texels per unit that you want. 1 texel basically equals 1 pixel. 2 texels is 2 to 1, and it gives you a little bit better shadowing. So I kind of keep it at 2. Your light map resolution right now is set to 40 texels per unit. That's really high, and it's good. Just leave it at 40. That's a good default. If you want more resolution than that, you can up it. Just know it's going to increase your times for baking. And then right down here we have light map padding. There's going to be some bleed over. 2's pretty good. I anything beyond that, I haven't really noticed much of a difference, but it depends on how far away from the object you're going to be. If you start to get 4, 5, 6, your MIP mapping will start pulling in our surrounding stuff. So for this, we're just going to leave it at 2. Your light map size, I generally keep my light maps anywhere between 512 to 2048. So 1024, good kind of mid-range right now. Compressed light maps, leave that turned on. Ambient occlusion, I love a little ambient occlusion inside mine. Maximum distance we'll set to 1. Indirect contributions and direct contributions, I'm just going to leave those at default right now. Final gather, now final gather will add a little bit more kind of spottiness to your stuff, and I've often found that it can take a little longer to do, so we're going to keep that turned off for now. But if you're really interested in what it's going to do, it's just going to shoot rays all over the place, and it'll help you a little bit more with what you're doing. All right, directional mode. We just want it to be directional. Intensity, or you can change the intensity and your albedo boost, to make it a little brighter and stuff. I'm leaving those default for right now. Light map parameters. If you look down here, you have default, high resolution, low resolution, very low. For right now, we're just going to leave that at its lowest setting, which is medium, or I can set it to low resolution, because as you increase the higher resolution, you're going to find that it actually takes a lot longer to burn. Okay. We aren't doing any fog. We don't need any of these additional stuff for right now. We're not doing a spotlight cookie, but know that you can line that in and place something in there, and it will break up your shadows. Really kind of cool. Cookies are basically objects that go, or textures that go in front of the light that give you, for example, let's say you wanted to burn the words Unity into your texture as part of a light map. You could come and put in a Unity texture right there, and it will create a cookie cutter of it in the light. We're not doing that, so don't worry about it. Debug settings, auto generate. Okay, we basically, if you just click this on right now, watch down here as it goes. It's going to start generating the light maps, and it's pretty fast because we don't have a whole lot going on right now. You're going to just see it run through, and the job should be done here really quickly. So now, if you look at our scene, we have a baked light map. It's using that second UV channel, and we can add whatever textures onto this with our first UV channel. And I'm going to show you why this is so great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete our directional light. Of course, it gets rid of lighting around there, but notice that it did nothing to our baked light map. Okay, now, why did it switch out like that? Well, I have auto generate turned on. So let me undo what I just did. Let it auto generate the light map again. Okay, get it right there. Now turn off your auto generate, and then you can delete your lights inside there, and it won't switch back to a new generated lighting. Meanwhile, auto generates on, and this is a mistake that everybody makes, so be aware of it. Meanwhile, auto generates turned on, your light maps will stay the same until you move the light. Okay, but if you delete the light, all of a sudden your auto generate will now redo a brand new map. Okay, so this is kind of an introduction into light maps and stuff like that. By the way, they are stored in the cache. That's not an actual texture that you can pull out. And the reason we do this is because it's super light when it comes to how you're building your entire scenes. Like, you may have multiple lights, and they don't need to really be in the scene because most of them aren't going to be affecting the character. You just kind of want to get a nice lighting in a corner or something like that. You may have, for example, a fire that's kind of lit up the back, and you want to get that light inside there, but then you don't want that affecting the character and stuff like that. The more lights you have, the heavier your scene. The less lights you have, the much better. So this is a great way of keeping yourself from having to do a ton of lighting and stuff like that. Hopefully this will help you, and it's a quick tutorial to get going. Enjoy.